recording. It says so.
We're
Great.
pre-recording, Erica,
All right.
and we are on.
So, so thank
Okay.
you everyone for joining this episode of Black Money Matters.
Ooh, and it's
We
hard
it
sometimes.
is.
It's hard.
We are your hosts. My name is Jameca Patrick, and I am here with
Karen Weaver. And you know what? I don't even know which episode this is today because this has been a day, but it's good.
It's good.
because we're here and we have Erika Alexander, and we've been waiting for you.
We have.
I've been waiting for me. Mayor Weaver, I'm kind of not hearing you as much. Um, are you talking into your mic?
Yes.
I'm just making sure.
Yes.
Okay.
How
So
is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Okay. I said we've been waiting for you, and then we made you wait. Oh, but
that's
really,
fine.
so I'm going to start over because one of the things we were saying is I started getting calls when we said you were going to be on here. We started getting calls. Is she going to be in the studio? Is she going to be in the studio? Because I said we'd have to have security. If you-
Flint loves you.
Flint loves you, and
wanna
Alan
see you.
Overton, he'd be very upset.
Well, I love Flint, and I am a fan and a friend of Mayor Weaver, and I have been for a very long time. I'm very glad to be on the show, and I'm very glad to be invited to talk about something as important as money matters, because it really does.
It really
It
does.
does.
It really does. And I mean, you know what? I mean, we're going to make this part really fast because unless somebody's been under a rock for years, I mean, your name really precedes you because
Mhm.
you have been with us for a long, long time. I mean, we've been watching you, over years
Mhm.
You've been
from
watching me grow and get old.
grow and get better, get seasoned. That's
Thank
what we're
you.
saying.
Thank
Look, I'm working on that because I'm trying to figure out what I'm saying as we grow older and better together.
I know that's right.
Jameca said like fine wine.
Fine
We
wine.
just get better with time. We're
That's
going
right.
we're going to take a line from the Whispers. We just get better
Just
with
get better
time.
with time.
Yes, yes, that's real.
But I mean, really, Erica, you've been around what from the Cosby Show to
Mhm.
Living Single. You were
Mhm.
in. I know you had some recurring roles in Queen
Queen
Sugar,
Sugar.
Mhm.
Black Lightning, Wu Tang series,
Mhm.
and you're working on something that's very special.
Yes, a lot of things that are special. I'm also going to just give you a peek on what's coming down the pike is Run the World, which is the second season that I'm in that on Stars.
Yeah.
Also,
Right.
um, a film called Wildflower, which is out now, and a two films, independent films coming. One's called Earth Mama, and the next one will be a movie with that's directed by Cord Jefferson and Jeffrey Wright and Sterling K. Brown and Issa Rae and also Tracy Ellis Ross, and I'm in it,
Wow.
and that's called what's actually it's the Untitled Novelist Project, but it's got a special title that I won't give away. But look for all that coming.
Okay.
Oh, we'll be looking for it and we'll be watching. We will be tuned in. You can count on that.
Thank you. But I've
You
been
can.
working as a producer and a writer
Oh
for many
wow.
years now, and now a director. I've directed and co-directed a documentary about reparations called The Big Payback.
Okay,
Oh,
that I want to hear about that. But you know
yeah.
what? You just said a producer, director, writer,
Writer.
Mhm.
and how did you get there? Because Jameca and I were talking the other day, and we were having this conversation about what would you tell a young person, a
Mhm.
young Black person especially, but young people that want to go into entertainment. And because a lot of times, if our kids say, "Oh, I want to be an actor," we say no. You don't
Mhm.
want to do that. You're not going to do that. So what would you to not discourage them? And then how did you get into those other areas?
Sure. So the first thing I say is if you have a young person or any person, doesn't matter their age, who wants to do something, the last thing we need to do is discourage them because if you
Mhm.
find out that somebody's gifted in the arts, and many people think the arts include musicianship and singing, but they often go, well, actor, how are you going to make a living? And I go, but you
Right.
don't ask that. You should help them develop those talents. And sometimes it's so difficult that they won't be able to maybe be as successful as they want. But if you see that your child can swim fast, you help them swim fast and get them a coach.
Mhm.
You don't tell them swimming's not your thing. So I try to say that this is a very noble thing. If a person identifies themselves as a creator in the arts, then they should have every opportunity to pursue it. That's what my mother uh, uh, gave me the pathway to do when I auditioned for a big what is it, open call, and then I was
Mhm.
chosen. She didn't say no. She just pursued it and tried to find people that could manage and be my agents. She never thought she was a momager. There are a lot of people who try to insert themselves into
You said
something
a
they know.
momager?
Yes, they insert themselves into something they know nothing about, and it just
Mhm.
destroys the person's career. And I think that, to me, again, if your child runs fast, you don't say, "Oh, I know how to coach you how to run fast." You go find coaches that teach
Mhm.
in track.
I
So
do that.
that's what first you can do to in that space is to take them seriously and help them get around people who know what they're doing. But I am producing directing because I created Color Farm Media, which is 21st century entertainment and social impact company. And so we had create IP that's focused on developing and producing premium quality scripted and unscripted content for all sorts of platforms, including film, television, streaming, and podcasts. And we try to do it in a way that centers Black and of color and marginalized voices. So we call ourselves the Motown of film, television, and tech. I know y'all love that in Michigan. And that's what
Yeah.
we've been doing.
Yes.
That's what we've been doing.
You say social impact. Can you talk a little bit more about that and why that is important today and important with the artists that you're working with?
Sure. Well, a lot of people and companies have given lip service to wanting to be more diverse and have more
Mhm.
equity. But that has to be intended and has to be rebuilt on a system that is, by its very nature and intention,
Mhm.
exclusive and um, non-inclusive. And
Mhm.
so when you're trying to build something that people feel like not only they're invited to, they're not that they shouldn't be outside the mainstream, that these streams they're talking about are for everyone, then you've got to bring in people who know what they're doing, who know the audience, who are writing from that point of view, those types of things. So that's what we thought we could do. We could bring the equity and inclusion and diverse representation, certainly to media, but also wanted to create a sustainable long-term systemic change by shifting narratives. So we say we're going to rebrand Blackness. And we want to rebrand it because from all this time it's been branded as the dark other, like Martin Luther King said in a quote that I heard, something that was bad or negative. We think that Blackness has always been the most powerful thing that you could be, especially in this nation, because we are always pushing against um, oppressive power. And because of that, we've really innovated in places where they couldn't say no. And that one big place is the entertainment arts.
That's interesting you said that because one of the things I had written down was people I don't know if people recognized how active politically and what an advocate you are and how you speak on different issues because that was how I met you. You were engaged in the political process. And to hear you have these kinds of conversations, that's really what got us started in doing what we were doing. And as you talk about media and mainstream media, one of the things we noticed that was going on, and we can't say it's exclusive to Flint because I've
Mhm.
heard the same conversation all around the country, is how when you look at mainstream media, we're not being fed what we need to be fed. We're not being given the information, accurate, honest information for us to make decisions about us and about our families that are in our best interest.
Mm.
What do you think about that?
Um, we're not. um, uh, you're absolutely correct. One of the reasons why, when one of the biggest crisis, which was in Flint, of
Mhm.
water, was something that was explosive, as explosive as it was, is because media helped, local media helped the
Mhm.
larger media bring a humanity to the people it was affecting. but they didn't do
Mhm.
it fast enough. And the thing about it is that because it was marginalized communities, it was only probably the biggest reason why. If somebody was going to do that to Beverly Hills, you can best believe everybody would be there. But that happens all the
Mhm.
time, is that we don't have enough um, media outlets that are telling those stories. And so you need sort of this huge sort of amplification to happen. And that happens all of the time. And un, it's unacceptable. And
Mhm.
yet they're now not putting investment into news anymore, especially locally.
Wow,
So it
that's
really
Mhm.
cool.
needs people like you to create these podcasts to get the word out so we understand what we're looking at.
It's just something that you would say that because that's what we've been talking about. Actually, that's what drives us to do what we're doing with this podcast is because we recognize that the voice that we're hearing isn't ours, and our stories aren't being told, and we aren't given the opportunities to tell the story and to be and to receive the information and to be represented. And so, yes, all of those things. And we talk a lot about, girls. And Mayor Weaver mentioned this that we talk about our girls and making sure that they have the access um, to to people who are in these roles, in these positions, and so thank you for that. Thank you for creating, for being intentional about creating an outlet and a company that will represent boys and girls who look like us and our family members. So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I was just uh still I'm just stuck on that really because it's been such a problem. Even when you look at what's going on now, Erica, I just got back from Jackson, Mississippi, where they're having issues with their water.
Mm,
And I was talking with them because I said, Flint and Jackson had things in common before a water crisis. That's why
mm,
Flint and Jackson and communities that look like us and have our demographics have water crises.
mm.
We know, like you said, this wouldn't happen in other places. And so I remember saying, if I'm coming down there, we need to be reaching out. I said, it's two HBCUs right there, uh, Jackson State and Tougaloo. And we need
Mm.
to be talking with them about what is going on and all of the various tables that we need to be included at. And it's not just those elected seats, those are very important, but there are other seats when we talk about the media and educating and informing people about the truth. And we need to stop letting others tell our narrative and tell our story because they never get it right.
No, no, that's true. It's a lot of heavy lifting because when crisis happened, the last thing you want to do is have to inform people about not only what's going on that they should be paying attention to, but having to educate them about Black people at all, about Jackson, about Mississippi, about
Mhm.
the, the the demographics and all these other things. Black people have to do so much in such short of time that
Mhm.
it makes a big sort of case for why local um, news matters, why media matters, certainly why news organizations matter, but also ones that are created by and um, are on the daily building out and succeeding inside of those markets, but also to create a collaboration to
Mhm.
larger markets and regional things. So we're always, again, nothing is local to me. It starts local, but that sort of systemic problem is a problem in a lot of Black communities where they devalue our presence and put all these environmental pressures and pollutants on us. And imagine if we started to get together and create news organizations that can um, leverage the power of a local story to national prominence without a crisis.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Just celebrating us, celebrating the wins that we see every day,
Mhm.
and pushing those. Mhm.
Exactly.
And it's also funny that you brought up if somebody's good at running fast, you get someone to help them. If you're good at different areas of entertainment, because we've had three people on here. Two of them were designers. Was a guy that designed handbags. There was somebody else, and he said he learned that in prison, and he makes some beautiful handbags. There was another guy, and his name is Miracle McGlown, but there's somebody by the name of Philip Loving who is a clothes designer, and he does sunglasses and accessories. And he
Mhm.
from Flint went to New York Fashion Show and is going to Paris Fashion Week, I guess is what it is. And then we have a performance coming up because believe it or not, it's going to be 9 years since the water crisis started because we're still in it because we haven't had our pipes. They have not been completed. And so many people don't know that. But they all
Mm.
said that they got their start in the arts.
Mhm.
And they talked about how important that was to who they are now and where they are now. And, and so one of the things we've talked about is for people to not underestimate the importance of performing
Mhm.
arts,
Mhm.
whether it's music, acting, and all of those other things that you were talking about. Because when we diminish that, I mean, we're telling people that their skill isn't important, their talent, their gift isn't important, and they should do something else.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And, and they even talk about like the relationships with those professors. The
Right, that
lady,
supported and
yeah, that
encouraged
supported
them.
them, taught them, and they still reach out and reach back to those folks. So.
Yeah. It's amazing that they defunded the arts programs in all the schools, and that
Mhm.
directly affected the effectiveness of Black and brown people. Want to say Black, but it's not limited to, because again, the places that we were making the most gains were through entertainment and athletics. That's just what it is. We
Ooh.
we were seeding ground in the intellectual area because we started to on our own, and also along with the promotion of the nigger context, and I say the
Mhm.
context of the nigger,
Mhm.
which meant that to be educated meant that you was trying to act white or be white or those types of things, and start to denigrate in people who were intelligent and make it seem like they were inauthentic Black people, and then promote people who were from the streets, urban, and that's another uh, sort of word for, code word for saying thugs and all that. Oh, we want urban.
Okay, you know what? You know what you made me think of. Have you been watching? Have you been watching the
the
NCAA,
the
the
women.
women, and
Yes. Oh
what
gosh.
do you think? I was so. Let's talk. Let's talk because
It's
that
been
was terrible.
intriguing.
I've
It's
been waiting to talk about that. How dare they do
right,
that
right.
and then try to act like they didn't?
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
you think,
That's what
Erica?
they do.
I
That's what.
thought was awful, but I at this point, and I don't think it's funny. I laugh because I can't believe it still goes on to that
Mhm.
effect. But they made one player. Oh, look at how gutsy she is. Look at her. She's not a. And the other ones are thugs. Oh, look
Right,
at how
she's a thug. She's a bully.
a
Mhm.
bully.
I
And
can't
all
even remember all the words that they used,
Yeah,
but
she doesn't have class. I want to say they called her ghetto.
they
They
did
said
call her
all kind of
ghetto.
stuff.
yeah.
All kind of stuff for the
I said, when we do
same.
the same exact
I'm
thing.
like this. I'm so intrigued by the audacity. It's the audacity.
It is, but we also have a plague. It's not just one of that can infect your make a cough and give you a virus. The virus of white supremacy is
Mhm.
very um, difficult to shake. Otherwise, we would have done it by now. And it
Mhm.
rears its ugly heads in all over the place. So just like you said, it makes no sense to put that on those young women, but they did, and they will continue to do it wherever they can because it promotes them as the leader of the world, and not just because listen, they're on a court competing against each other in the same game,
Mhm.
but they have to make somebody the bad guy, the villain. And it's going
Right.
to always be Black people. That's storytelling. And that storytelling needs to be interrupted, disrupted, and can be interrupted, disrupted by people who understand it. And that's people who build narrative. You're building a narrative now around money. You're saying
Mhm.
Black money matters.
It
Well, you're also
matters.
saying that we have a right to money and we should own money and all these other things. No one wants that narrative out there. They just want us as consumers.
I know. I think that's what happened to our internet. They didn't want us to have that conversation.
The devil is a liar. The devil is a liar.
You know, I don't trust anybody on some of those things because they do. They're always trying to shut the story down.
Mm-hmm.
They try to, you all be quiet. Don't talk about that. And then you get labeled. You get called those names.
Mm-hmm.
You're a bully. You're misinformed. You're lying to the community. Those kinds of things happen. But I watched that, and well, of course, let me just say, I was pulling for South Carolina at first now, and then when South Carolina was out, I was cheering for LSU.
I was
And I was
South
so
Carolina
happy.
too.
I was,
But
so happy.
your very presence as women threatens or challenges authority. And so if we just look at that, if there's another powerful woman, these people on this court and they're representing, it's like they'd have to dim their light for that young woman to shine. If they didn't say anything, that's dimming their light. She did what she was supposed to do. She answered something that she thought was disrespectful, and yet she was branded for it. But that's what Black women in authority have always been put as a bad guy and or a problem when we rise up to the occasion and answer,
Right.
push back on things that are not only unfair but disrespectful.
When I was, and I guess because this just happened, I'm talking about when I was at Tougaloo, and there were other women mayors and former mayors there, and they asked me, what do I wish I had known before I was in office? And it was like I knew the answer, but I didn't know the extent that this went. And I told them, I said, I wish I had known that they were looking for team players and not truth tellers. They want you to be a team player. Say the water is good because you're messing up our businesses downtown. We don't need new pipes. Say these things because you're making it so people won't want to come here. Instead of saying, no, fix the water. Let's just tell the truth. Let's fix the water and do the right thing. But they would prefer you to be a team player. And because I wasn't a team player, I said, I'd rather be a truth teller than a team player if that's what if being on that team means that.
Amen. Thank
Yeah.
goodness that you are. But there's
And
also that means that there's more advanced against you. And people need to understand that anybody that's threatening the status quo is certainly a vulnerable. But the way you're doing it is they're sort of punishing you. So anybody else that does it coming after you says, well, I don't want to do it like that because look what happened to
Exactly.
that person. And I say, no, we're taking the wrong lesson. It's exactly what we need to continue to do.
Absolutely.
But you're pushing the status quo. That's what you're doing as far as when you say I'm going into these areas, into these spaces because I want to set the narrative, and you're saying the same thing. We're going to be a truth teller when we put this information out, when we do these kinds of shows and these stories. And so how has that been for you to do this?
I feel like I'm in the space I'm supposed to be in. I think the invitation to fight against things that you feel are wrong is there the minute you're born, and you just hope that you'll have the strength and the opportunity to do it. There's so many things that can get into your path, from health problems to all sorts of access things that you just want to be grateful for. However, you come to the space, and if you're able to be to get some things done, that's a good thing, because many people have tried. I'm just one person of many people for over hundreds of years who are trying to hold America accountable and the human disorder accountable for creating a more equitable future. But I have to say, we need people to invest in America. And the next big thing that they have are creators of color. So I am a part of that. And in 2018, there were more children of color born in America than white children. So they don't want to see themselves as a narrative. They won't want to see next to it. And I have to say, with the current archives and storybooks that they have, they won't age well. They won't be able to show those things and people like them for all sorts of things that are in it, misogyny and all sorts of other things. They're not made to withstand that storm. So I think women's empowerment, diversity without restraint, and the aging of colonization and its stranglehold on global audiences. If America is going to succeed in the next century, it has to be reborn. It has to be fully realized and renewed. And I would haul ass making friends with the new colorful world of creatives on the rise, and that's what they should do.
Oh, yeah, you just said a lot. You
Mhm.
just said a lot, but it's so true. It's so true. And I just there's a lot coming against us when we try to do those things, but it can't be done. And it's really, it's been hard sometimes. I think the hard part or the difficult part has been finding other people. I mean, because you can't be scared. You can't be scared when you do these things.
And they try to scare you. Like you were saying, they make you the example, so the person coming behind you will say, "Well, I'm not going to do it that way," or they try to downplay your talents and abilities by demonizing the way that you chose to fight back, like they're doing the young lady, the basketball player. And so they do. They try to make you scared, because they don't want to give away that power. They don't want to share the power. And a lot of the power comes from the ability to tell the story, the ability to create the narrative, to write the story, to direct the story, to run for that office, to dominate in that sport. And so yes, they the way that we fight back, um, we're not just fighting to push ourselves forward. We're also fighting we're also fighting against a system that doesn't want to see change.
No,
Doesn't
it's
want.
true. I mean, the fundamental systems and foundations of America, I need to tell y'all this, they are built to assault and torment and hinder Black people. That's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if we're all in a fight, we all got to try to dismantle the systems. I'm using my skill as a storyteller to create compelling conversation, to shine a light on visionaries like you, Mayor Weaver, telling um, the story that you have. You're toiling in it. You're energizing the movement. But you're right. They do want to again come at you, but we also need to be honest and say that we also scare ourselves away.
Mm-hmm.
We will tell somebody, oh, watch out, if you go there everybody's going to be coming at you, the Illuminati and all these far-fetched conspiracies that don't make sense,
Mm-hmm.
that demoralize and discourage people, because they say, well, if you're not succeeding, they don't want you. I said, figure out what's out there that does work. How are people advancing and being successful despite those systems? Where are they creating some kind of new, even infrastructure? And
Mm-hmm.
try to go that way. We've always had to be quick on our feet, and that's how it is. Even if you are successful, everybody thinks that I have access that I don't. Everybody thinks I have power that I don't. What I
Right.
do have, I try to use, because I do have more than most people. But if it's that's relative. Inside of Hollywood spaces, I don't have more than most here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's and you're right about that. And like I said, it goes back to that's what we were saying. I told people, I said, you know what? I said, one thing I know is I said, I don't have to be in that seat to still make meaningful, impactful change. And people will not shut my voice down because I'm not going to let them. And so that's why we have moved into this space, because one of the areas, like I said, that was very harmful to Flint, and like I said, not just to Flint, has been the your local mainstream media, as far as saying what's true and what's not true, and letting people know uh, what is going on. So we're still here. We're still here. We're still making noise. We're still informing and educating people about decisions that impact their day to day lives so they can make good decisions.
Right
And
on.
about Black money,
Right.
and making sure that we understand how to use our gifts and abilities to make money and stabilize our communities. How it's important that our voice is being utilized in a way that helps move the community forward, and that helps all of us be able to just band together and be progressive and be stable and have those things that we need in our communities.
For sure.
So, Erica, I know you don't have a lot of time. How much more time do you have? Because I have some quick
Well,
questions.
13 minutes. I have
What'd you
13
say?
I have 13 minutes.
You have 13. Can I? Okay, you know what? So this is something that's kind of light. This is lighthearted. Now I'm going to switch over
Okay.
and ask you, what, who do, when people see you, who do they, who do they identify you with as far as the different roles that you played?
Max the most.
I was thinking that.
I was too. And what? So here's my question.
That or Cousin Pam, but Cousin Pam, I got to be down south, and they'll go, Cousin Pam's my girl. I said,
but why was Max so relatable? People just connected to her? What was it about Max that just stood out? And that was a while ago.
She was, I think, of her generation and the previous generation, like a Molotov cocktail, just a really potent mix of strength, power, sexy, eccentric, irreverent, not afraid to embrace her sexuality, but not caught in the middle of religiosity, which, a lot of previous characters had been in. If you look at her way she even looked, that bob that I was wearing, which was designed by Deborah Hare Bay of Red Salon at the time.
Okay.
She's Oh My Heavenly Hair now. I'm wearing her locks now. She does things with yarn. She did her hair with yarn then. This is colorful yarn for folks who can see me. But that was black yarn, and it was a very cropped, neat bob of locks. And it became the Max style. But if you look at Whoopi Goldberg, it's her locks. She did a cropped bob. It was just a little bit more, raw and kind of less sort of, hers was edgier. And if you look at the persons who were in my, the people who taught me about acting while I was acting, from Cecily Tyson to Phyllis Rashad to all these people, you see that in Maxine Shaw. But what you also see is the person that I am, which is, I'm from Arizona, but I'm up in the mountains. And both my parents were orphans. I'm one of 6. My father was a Church of God in Christ Kojic preacher. My mother was an educator, teacher. And I lived the first 11 years of my life in a hotel called Starlight off of Route 66. And so what you're seeing is a person who's on the come up, who understands that if they don't speak up, there's nobody to speak up for them. But she's fair. You don't see that it's disrespectful. And that comes from, again, the people who raised me. Maxine Shaw is always walking that line. She also ran for alderwoman. And famously ran for office. She was looking for a career change. She didn't know why. She just wasn't settled in with just being this great lawyer. She could have been a great corporate lawyer and gone on to be partner, but that wasn't enough. She wanted to affect change. She didn't know that was happening within her, but you'll see some of that within her. And you see that she's down with her friends. Her sisterhood is important to her, but she's also reckless. And I think that she's allowed to be reckless and have fun. And that's who Maxine Shaw. So that's why people like her. I think Max is is an inspirational character and also a very sort of shadow character.
I just rewatched that entire series again.
What series did you watch?
Living Single. I just rewatched. Of course, I watched it. Back in the day, but I just rewatched it
Again.
Yeah. Huh? So that's why I'm just cheesing so hard, because I'm thinking about the episodes when she ran for elected seat. And actually, I watched it when I rewatched it, it was last summer. So I was like really identifying with that. So yes.
But it is, and I said that I wanted to ask that question because I said everybody just seems to be able to relate to her.
Yeah, they call this thing that a lot of people have come up to me, Stacey Abrams, Marilyn Mosby, Ayanna Pressley, Mary de Blasio. They said they went to politics and the law because of that character, which sounds nuts, but they're like, no, you have no idea how that influenced me. And I'm grateful because, again, I'm in her package. I didn't go to college. I didn't do any of those things. So whatever they saw that sort of felt like it pushed them to that path and made them feel like they were invited, because I feel like they would have gotten there anyway. But I think that's an amazing thing. And it's also a perfect storm. because it
Yes.
needs a different world. It needs Cosby Show. It needs those things to advance it in order for her to jump off of the stage of a 2D um, existence into a 3D person who makes
Mhm.
it real.
Mhm. So I have another question. What's something that no one knows about you? And it's not because it's a secret. It's just they people just don't know that about you.
Um, Most people don't know I come from Arizona. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, you know what? Now that's a good one because I remember when I was in Arizona, it was I didn't meet when I met a Black person that was actually from there, it was like, "Oh, wow, it was." Most had moved there from someplace else, but
mm,
you're from there.
I'm from there. Yes, my people are from the Southwest. And again, it's inviting us to think of Americans from sea to shining sea and not just
Mhm,
the urban spaces that they would like to put us, although they're important because I think that we gathered in those spaces because we felt comfortable with more of us around. But we were also the minority in other
mhm,
places, and especially the Southwest. So most people
mhm.
don't know that.
That's true. That's
They're
true.
getting ready to this year's the 30th anniversary of living single, and we'll be talking about the Maxine Shaw effect, which is a little
Oh,
bit of what
wow.
we talked about, sort of discussing what that is, because there was a data study done on it, and it came up with more surprising numbers than we ever expected. And then also in Arizona, Winslow, where I was born, is 60 miles away from where I was partially raised, which is Flagstaff, and they
Mhm.
are making an Erika Alexander week. They are going to have
Okay, when
a
is this? When
yes,
is this?
it's August. I'll figure it out and tell you. It's in August, and they're going to have a mural. They're going to have events. They're
Okay, you
naming
send that
buildings
information.
after
I'm gonna
me and
try to come
perhaps
to Arizona. We
do.
wanna come to
Oh, we
Arizona.
will have a ball. They're going
Yes.
to have the native tribes out there. People don't know I grew up
Oh,
around Navajo and Hopi and Mexican children. It's going to be interesting.
That sounds so cool.
I know. Okay, please,
I'll let
please, please
you.
let me know because I would love to come and see that.
Yeah, whoa, I would love to for you to be there. Are you kidding? I'll be
Uh-huh.
wherever you are. I wanna be where you are. Oh,
That's
yeah, man, anywhere you are.
so I'll be where you are. We will be there. Well, okay, so
So
what's your favorite Girl Scout cookie? Then Jameca has a question for you. We're
Mint,
gonna do
mint, mint,
because
mint,
we've been talking
wait,
about
wait, did you hear what she
what'd you
said?
say?
mint.
What did I say? What did
Yeah,
I
She
say?
said thin
Thin
mint.
mint.
thin mint.
Ah,
Yeah,
wow. I have
yeah,
some thin mints I could send you.
yeah.
Thin
I hope they
mint.
made a gluten-free option because that's the space I'm in now. I can hardly eat any of that stuff.
Okay, so thin mints. Okay,
Thin
what
mint.
Jameca?
I love me some thin mint
I
cookies.
so we've still got a couple minutes. Okay,
So,
go
what
ahead,
do you
Jameca.
have a favorite color? And if so, what is it?
I like periwinkle blue.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's
Periwinkle
pretty.
blue. See,
Yes.
That's
I wouldn't
pretty.
have guessed that. I wouldn't have guessed anything because I wouldn't know. I would have passed, Erica. I would have passed
Okay.
on that.
I like saffron
So,
orange too. I really do like saffron red orange, but I'm really a periwinkle blue.
okay. So
Oh,
let me see. If you had a choice, shrimp and grits or chicken and waffles.
If they're gluten-free, chicken and waffles, but I'd have to say shrimp and grits lately. I just got into it. It came late to the party. It took all these years. I
I
really like that.
I got this from you. You did that to me one time. You did an interview, if you remember. Do you remember that? And you were asking me these. She was
like
firing these
the fire.
questions to me,
Oh, I
and you
love
said, Tupac or Biggie?
And what did
it.
you say?
I said Tupac.
That's right. I, I just
Mama.
Do you remember that?
Yes, now I do. Yes, it's fun. Yes,
So I said I was gonna take a chapter out of what you
please.
did.
I
So
loved it.
and I
so what about you? Tupac or Biggie?
Tupac. Hello? Uh-oh. I think something happened. Uh-oh. Hello?
I'm gonna try to schedule another time. We're gonna get it worked out because you have
Hello?
a story and you have I mean your perspective is something that I think it should be shared with others, because we're talking that same language, and I want people to hear. I want people to hear this.
And we appreciate you. We appreciate you so much. We appreciate all that you've done. We
Right.
appreciate all that you continue to do. We're watching. Our girls are watching. And so we thank you.
And we
so
want to be there
much.
for the max effect.
Yeah.
Send me that information, because Arizona in August, here we come.
Right. Thank you. Love
Thank
you both.
Love you. I
Congratulations.
appreciate
Love
you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
I'll be back.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
We're
And-
going to
and
have
we-
you back. We have been with Erika Alexander.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
are on Black Money Matters.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in, and
We'll
thank
see
you for your
next week.
patience.
Thank
Erika,
you.
we will talk to you soon.
See you two gorgeous women soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.